everyone, and welcome back for another deep dive. This time, we're going to be tackling a topic that I know is on a lot of people's minds these days,
Yeah.
AI, and how it's impacting the freelance job market.
Right.
And to help us really dig into this, we're going to be looking at a fascinating study that was just published in Management Science.
Yeah, this is a really interesting one.
Yeah, I mean, what really struck me about this is that it's not just, some theoretical future scenario.
Right.
This is looking at real-time changes that are already happening based on data from over 1 million freelance job postings.
1 million. Yeah, it's a huge data set. And I think what's so striking about it, too, is that, we've seen automation before.
Right.
We've seen robots, being introduced into warehouses. We all remember the Amazon Piva robots.
Right, exactly. And honestly, it wasn't the job apocalypse people were predicting back then.
Exactly. And I think that's what makes this research so compelling, is that it highlights how AI is different. It's not just taking over repetitive tasks. It's learning to do them better over time.
Right.
And that has significant implications for freelance work, because it's not just about, a machine doing something that a human used to do. It's about a machine potentially doing it better.
Right, more efficiently, faster.
Exactly.
Yeah. So to really understand these trends, early on, the researchers decided to focus specifically on online freelance platforms.
Yeah.
Why did they choose to kind of zero in on that area?
Well, they're like a microcosm of the job market in a way. They give us this really focused view of how demand is shifting across different types of work.
Oh, okay.
So it's like an early warning system.
I see.
And they looked at 3 main categories of jobs, what they called labor-intensive jobs.
Okay.
So things like data entry, administrative tasks, that sort of thing.
Got it.
Then there were what they called automation-prone jobs.
Okay.
Things like writing and coding.
Yeah, those are the ones that everybody's kind of worried about.
Exactly. And then there are the image generation jobs. Things like graphic design and 3D modeling.
Okay, so let's talk about what they actually found, because I think, everybody's heard of ChatGPT by now.
Right.
Did the study actually look at the impact of that on the freelance market?
It did. And the findings are pretty remarkable, I have to say.
Okay.
They found that the demand for automation-prone jobs dropped significantly almost immediately after ChatGPT was released.
Wow.
We're talking about a 21% decline practically overnight.
21%? That's huge.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember when automation hit manufacturing.
Right.
Those job losses were much more gradual.
Yeah, it was a much slower process.
Yeah.
And I think that's what's so unprecedented about this, the speed and the scale of the impact.
Right.
So to put that into more concrete terms, some writing gigs saw a 30% drop. Coding jobs went down by 20%.
Wow. And this is just based on ChatGPT's initial release.
Exactly. Who knows what the long-term effects will be?
Yeah.
But it's a pretty clear signal that things are changing rapidly.
And it sounds like it's a similar story playing out with those AI image generators like Midjourney.
Unfortunately, yes.
Yeah.
The study found that demand for graphic designers and 3D modelers also plummeted after those tools became widely available.
Yeah. I feel like everybody's using those now for just, creating images for social media or for presentations.
Absolutely. And what's interesting is that unlike, previous technological shifts,
Yeah.
we're not seeing any signs of recovery yet.
Oh, wow. So it's not like, okay, this is a dip and then things will go back.
It doesn't seem like it, at least not so far.
So if these jobs are disappearing, then what's happening to all the freelancers who are doing this work?
Right. Well, the research found that there's a significant increase in competition for the remaining jobs in these automation-prone fields.
Right.
So freelancers are having to fight harder for fewer opportunities.
Wow.
But at the same time, we're also seeing this massive surge in people searching for information about these types of jobs online, which suggests that there's a growing awareness of this AI threat, but also a desire to maybe understand how to adapt to it.
Yeah, like how to stay relevant in this new world.
Exactly.
Like, that's really interesting because, we've got these traditional freelance jobs vanishing, but then the research found something else kind of emerging.
Oh, yeah.
Job postings that specifically require ChatGPT as a skill.
Right. It's like a whole new category of work is popping up.
Yeah, and most of those are in the coding field, which tells me employers are adapting really quickly.
They are. They're looking for people who can not only code, but also use AI tools to code more efficiently.
So even if you're not directly replaced by AI, you still need to learn how to use it to stay ahead of the game.
Exactly. And I think that's a key takeaway from this research is how quickly AI is changing the skills that employers are seeking.
Right.
And there's another really crucial aspect to this that the study found, which is a gender gap in ChatGPT adoption.
Really?
Women are less likely to be using it, which raises concerns about equitable access to training and resources.
That's a really important point. We need to make sure that everybody has the opportunity to adapt to these changes,
Absolutely.
regardless of their gender.
Yeah.
So, with all of this in mind, what does this mean for our listener, even if they're not a freelancer themselves?
Well, I think the key takeaway is that this is going to impact everybody eventually.
Okay.
AI is going to ripple out across all industries, and I think we're already seeing the early tremors of that.
So, we can't just wait and see what happens. We need to be prepared for the changes that are already underway.
Exactly.
Well, that's a great point. And before we actually get into what those changes might look like, let's take a deeper look at how AI is actually transforming the way freelancers work on a day-to-day basis.
Right, because it's not just about the number of jobs, it's about how the jobs themselves are changing.
Right, exactly. And we'll get into all of that right after this break.
Yeah, it's fascinating to see how AI is not only affecting the number of jobs, but also changing the very nature of those jobs.
Right, it's not just about fewer jobs, it's about the skills needed for the jobs that remain.
Absolutely. The research actually found that after ChatGPT's launch, the remaining automation-prone jobs actually became more complex.
Really?
Yeah, the tasks required a broader skill set, and employers were willing to pay more for those skills.
So, in a way, AI is kind of pushing freelancers to become even more specialized.
Precisely, it's like this natural selection for skills.
Right, if AI can handle the more basic tasks, then the human freelancers who can tackle the complex stuff, they become even more valuable.
Exactly. The freelancers who can adapt and level up their abilities will be the ones who thrive in this new environment.
So it's not enough to just be good at one thing. You've got to be able to kind of wear multiple hats.
Right. And I think this is particularly true for those who can combine technical expertise with uniquely human skills.
Okay, so what do you mean by uniquely human skills?
Things like communication, collaboration,
Mm.
creative problem solving, these are the areas where AI still falls short.
And those will be crucial for freelancers moving forward. Okay, so we've talked about the impact on the demand for freelance jobs and the changing skill requirements, but how is AI actually changing the way freelancers do their work on a day-to-day basis? Are they using these AI tools in their actual tasks?
The study found that AI is becoming increasingly integrated into the freelance workflow.
Okay, so they're not just, worried about it, they're actually using it.
Exactly. They're using it not to replace themselves, but to automate certain tasks, boost their efficiency, even generate new ideas.
It's like having an incredibly powerful assistant at your disposal.
Right.
Okay, so if AI can handle the more tedious parts of a project, then the freelancer can focus on the higher level creative aspects of their work.
Precisely. Take a graphic designer, for example.
Okay.
Instead of seeing AI image generators as a threat, they can use these tools to rapidly prototype ideas, explore different visual styles, or handle time-consuming tasks like background removal.
So it's about working smarter, not harder.
Exactly. And it allows them to dedicate more energy to the creative vision and client communication, ultimately making them more efficient and valuable.
That makes a lot of sense. It sounds like freelancers who can embrace these tools and learn how to use them strategically, they'll have a significant advantage.
Absolutely. And it's not just about mastering the technical aspects of these tools.
Right.
It's about understanding how to integrate them into your workflow and use them to enhance your creativity and productivity.
So it's not about being replaced by AI, it's about learning how to collaborate with it.
Exactly. AI as a partner, not a competitor.
Okay, but this is all happening so fast. How can freelancers possibly keep up with these constant changes in technology?
Continuous learning is more important than ever.
Yeah, you've got to be constantly educating yourself.
This isn't a one-time upgrade. The AI landscape is constantly evolving, so freelancers need to commit to being lifelong learners.
Yeah, stay curious.
Subscribe to industry blogs, attend webinars, take online courses, join online communities. The key is to stay curious and actively seek out new knowledge and skills.
Okay, so it's like a mental gym membership for freelancers.
Exactly. You got to keep those skills sharp.
But even with all the right skills and tools, you still need to find clients. How can freelancers market themselves effectively in this AI-powered world?
Your online presence is crucial.
Okay, so make sure your website is up to date.
Make sure your portfolio showcases projects that highlight both your AI proficiency and your uniquely human skills.
Right, because you want to show them you can do both.
Exactly. Craft a compelling bio that positions you as an AI-savvy freelancer.
And don't underestimate the power of networking.
Absolutely. Connect with other freelancers who are also embracing AI builds a community.
I love that idea of building a community because, sharing knowledge and supporting each other, that can make a huge difference, especially when the landscape is changing so rapidly.
Absolutely. Rising tide lifts all boats.
Okay, so we've talked about upskilling and we've talked about marketing, but any other advice on finding your niche in this new world?
One effective strategy is to specialize.
Okay, so double down on what you're already good at.
Look for opportunities to combine your existing expertise with AI capabilities.
Okay, so give me an example of that.
So let's say you're a healthcare writer. You could become the go-to expert for creating AI-powered chatbots for hospitals.
Oh, interesting. Or writing scripts for virtual healthcare assistants.
Exactly. It's about finding that sweet spot where your passions and AI's capabilities intersect.
And honestly, with all this talk of specialization and AI integration, it's easy to get caught up in the technical side of things.
Right.
Do you think there's a risk of losing sight of the human element in all of this?
That's a crucial point. We can't forget that freelance work is ultimately about human connection.
Right. It's about people.
Clients hire freelancers because they want that personal touch, that understanding of their unique needs and goals.
Okay, so AI can't replace that.
While AI can certainly enhance our capabilities, it can't replicate human empathy, intuition, and the ability to build genuine relationships.
That's reassuring.
Yeah.
So amidst all this change, it's those uniquely human qualities that will continue to set freelancers apart.
Exactly. And as we navigate this new landscape, it's important to remember that AI is a tool.
Right, it's not our overlord.
It can be incredibly powerful, but it's up to us to use it responsibly and ethically.
Right, it should be enhancing our work and our lives, not replacing or exploiting us.
Exactly.
But it's easy to get caught up in the hype and the fear surrounding AI. What advice would you give to freelancers who might be feeling overwhelmed or even scared about the future?
First and foremost, remember that you're not alone. Many freelancers are grappling with these same feelings.
Yeah, misery loves company.
Connect with your community, share your concerns, and learn from each other's experiences.
Right, there's strength in numbers.
Second, focus on what you can control.
Okay.
You can't stop the advancement of AI, but you can choose to embrace change and adapt your skills.
So focus on what you can control.
And finally, don't be afraid to experiment. Try out new AI tools, explore different ways of working, and see what works best for you.
Yeah, it's all about being adaptable. So we've talked about how AI is changing the types of freelance jobs available, the skills required, even the way work gets done. But what about the bigger picture? How is all of this impacting the overall freelance landscape?
The freelance landscape is already undergoing a significant transformation, and the pace of change is only going to accelerate.
So it's going to keep getting faster and faster.
We're seeing new types of freelance jobs, emerging new platforms and marketplaces appearing, and new ways of connecting clients and freelancers.
So it's becoming even more dynamic and complex.
It is, and that presents both challenges and opportunities.
Right.
Freelancers who are adaptable, resourceful, and skilled at navigating this evolving landscape will be the ones who thrive.
Okay, so it's all about being able to roll with the punches.
But it's not just about individual freelancers. The entire ecosystem of freelance work is shifting.
What do you mean by that?
Well, we're seeing changes in how businesses engage with freelancers.
Okay.
Some companies are building internal talent pools of freelancers, while others are relying more heavily on specialized freelance platforms.
Interesting.
We're also seeing the rise of new tools and technologies designed to help freelancers manage their work, connect with clients, and collaborate more effectively.
So it's not just about individual freelancers adapting, it's about the entire industry adjusting to this new AI-powered reality.
Exactly. And as this evolution continues, it's crucial for freelancers to stay informed, stay connected, and stay adaptable.
Right, be a sponge, soak it all up.
The future of freelance work is uncertain, but it's also full of potential for those who are willing to embrace the change and carve out their own path.
That's a great message to leave our listeners with. But before we wrap up this part of our deep dive, I'm curious to know what you think about the potential psychological impact of all these changes on freelancers.
That's an important consideration. We can't ignore the emotional and psychological challenges that come with navigating such rapid technological disruption.
Right, because it's one thing to say, okay, you need to learn these new skills. It's another to actually process all of that and not feel overwhelmed.
Exactly. Many freelancers might be feeling anxious, uncertain, or even threatened by the rise of AI.
Yeah, I can imagine it's quite a roller coaster of emotions to see AI kind of encroaching on your area of expertise.
Absolutely. And it's not just about the fear of losing your job. It's about feeling like your skills are becoming obsolete,
Right.
like you're no longer valuable in this new AI-driven world. Those feelings can be incredibly isolating and demoralizing.
So what can freelancers do to kind of cope with those feelings and maintain a sense of well-being amidst all this change?
I think it's essential to prioritize self-care
Okay, take some time for yourself.
and cultivate a positive mindset, focus on building your resilience, developing coping mechanisms for stress and uncertainty, and seeking support when you need it.
Yeah, don't be afraid to reach out to people.
Talk to other freelancers, talk to therapists, talk to your friends and family.
And beyond individual coping mechanisms, do you think there's a role for the freelance community in kind of supporting each other through these challenges?
Absolutely. The freelance community has a vital role to play in fostering a sense of belonging, sharing resources, and offering emotional support.
Right.
Online forums, social media groups, and co-working spaces can provide valuable connections and a sense of solidarity.
It's a reminder that even though freelancers often work independently, they don't have to go through these changes alone.
Exactly, we're stronger together.
Yeah.
And by supporting each other, sharing our knowledge, and embracing a growth mindset, we can navigate these challenges and create a thriving freelance ecosystem in the age of AI.
That's a great note to end on. But before we move on to the final part of our deep dive, I want to touch on something we haven't discussed yet, the potential downsides of becoming too reliant on AI.
You're right. It's important to acknowledge that while AI offers many benefits, there are also potential risks.
Right, it's not a magic bullet.
We need to be mindful of the dangers of over-automation and the potential for AI to create new forms of inequality or bias if not developed and used responsibly.
Right, we can't just blindly embrace it without thinking critically about, what could go wrong.
Exactly, and as AI continues to evolve, we need to have open and honest conversations about its ethical implications.
Yeah, so not just how can we use it, but should we use it?
Who is benefiting from these technologies? Who is being left behind? And how can we ensure that AI is used to create a more just and equitable world?
Those are important questions that we all need to be asking. So as we move into the final part of our deep dive, I'm curious to hear your thoughts on what the future holds for freelance work in an AI-powered world. What trends do you see emerging, and what advice would you give to freelancers who want to position themselves for success in this rapidly changing landscape? Okay, so we're back and ready to dive into this final part of our deep dive, exploring AI and the future of freelance work. We've talked about the impact AI is having on the types of freelance jobs out there, the skills needed, and even how the work itself is changing.
Yeah, and we also touched on those potential downsides of AI. The need to consider the ethics of it all, and remembering that human connection is still so important in this evolving landscape of work.
Right, exactly. And now I think it's time to shift gears a bit and really focus on what freelancers can actually do to not just survive, but really thrive in this new world. It's easy to get caught up in all the fear and uncertainty, but we want to leave you with some practical strategies and a sense of optimism about the future.
I think that's key because AI isn't going anywhere.
Hmm.
So instead of fearing it, we need to learn how to work with it. As we've seen, it's becoming so integrated into the freelance workflow that mastering these tools is going to be crucial.
Right. It's like that old saying, if you can't beat them, join them. But seriously, becoming proficient in those AI tools that are relevant to your field, that can really set you apart.
Hmm.
Imagine a freelance writer who can not only craft great copy, but also use AI to optimize it for search engines, analyze audience engagement, and even personalize the content. That's a powerful combination.
Exactly.
It's about evolving your skill set to complement AI's strengths. So let's say you're a graphic designer. You could use those AI image generators to rapidly prototype ideas, explore different visual styles, or even handle those tedious tasks like background removal.
Right. So instead of seeing it as a threat, you're using it to free up your time and energy to focus on those higher level tasks,
Mhm.
the creative direction, and building those client relationships, which ultimately makes you more efficient and more valuable.
Exactly. And remember, all those uniquely human skills we talked about earlier, things like critical thinking, complex problem solving, emotional intelligence, those are your superpowers in the AI era.
Those are the things that AI still struggles with, and they're only going to become more important as AI takes over more of those routine tasks.
Right. Freelancers need to make sure those skills are front and center.
Uh-huh.
Showcase them in your portfolio. Your marketing materials really highlight them. It's about positioning yourself as that human element that AI just can't replicate. AI might be able to write a decent blog post, but can it truly capture a brand's voice and connect with an audience on an emotional level? Can it empathize with a client's challenges and develop a strategy that really resonates with their unique needs?
I think that's where humans still have the edge, and that this is where that need for continuous learning becomes so crucial. It's not a one-time upgrade. This is about being a lifelong learner because the The AI landscape is constantly changing.
Yeah, you've got to stay curious. Subscribe to those industry blogs, attend webinars, take online courses, join those online communities, just constantly be seeking out new knowledge and
It's
skills.
like a mental gym membership for your freelance brain.
Yeah,
Got to keep those skills sharp.
right, exactly. And speaking of staying sharp, learning is only half the battle. You also need to know how to market those skills effectively in this new environment. So, what advice would you give freelancers on that front?
Well, your online presence is more important than ever.
Right.
Make sure your portfolio is showcasing projects that highlight both your AI proficiency and those uniquely human skills we've been talking about.
Right. You want to show potential clients that you can do both.
Exactly. And take the time to craft a compelling bio.
Hmm.
Really position yourself as that AI-savvy freelancer who understands how to leverage these tools effectively.
And don't underestimate the power of networking. Connect with other freelancers who are also embracing AI.
Yeah, build a community, share knowledge, resources, and support because everyone is figuring this out together.
I love that it's a great reminder that even though freelancers often work independently, they don't have to navigate this new world alone.
We're all in this together. And to that point, any other advice on finding your niche as AI reshapes the freelance landscape?
Yeah, because it can feel overwhelming with all these changes happening.
One strategy I think is really effective is to specialize, look for those opportunities to combine your existing expertise with AI capabilities.
Okay, so give me an example.
Sure, if you're a writer with a background in healthcare, you could position yourself as the go-to expert for creating AI-powered chatbots for hospitals or writing scripts for those virtual health assistants.
Oh, that's interesting. So it's really about finding that sweet spot where your passions and AI's capabilities align.
Exactly.
But, with all this talk of specialization and AI integration, it's easy to get caught up in the technical side of things. Do you think there's a risk of losing sight of that human element we talked about?
I think that's a really important point to remember. At the end of the day, freelance work is about human connection.
Mm.
Clients hire freelancers because they want that personal touch, that understanding of their unique needs and goals.
And AI can't replace that.
It can enhance our capabilities, but it can't replicate human empathy and intuition and that ability to build genuine relationships.
And that's a good reminder for all of us. So as we navigate this new landscape, it's important to remember that AI is a tool. It's up to us to use it responsibly and ethically.
It should be enhancing our work and our lives, not replacing or exploiting us.
Well, we've covered a lot of ground in this deep dive, explored the challenges, the opportunities, and the potential future of freelance work in an AI-powered world.
Yeah, it's an ongoing conversation.
Yeah.
AI is constantly evolving, and the way we work will continue to adapt alongside it.
So as we wrap up, what's the one key takeaway you want to leave our listeners with today?
I'd say the future of work is uncertain, but it's also full of possibilities. Those who are willing to adapt, learn, and collaborate will be the ones who thrive in this new era. So embrace the change, stay curious, and don't be afraid to experiment.
That's a fantastic message. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
It's been a pleasure.
And to our listeners, we'd love to hear your thoughts and experiences as you navigate this new world of AI and freelance work.
Yeah, keep the conversation going, connect with us on social media, share your insights, and let's learn from each other as we journey into this exciting future together.